Hey guys, welcome to issue 64 of my Warhammer 40k review series. This episode I'll be reviewing issue 64. Say hello, Max.
Hello.
Not one of the high value episodes. Maxie, that's enough. Not one of the high value episodes this week. We've just got a refill on the Astro Granite, so
Look what I can do with my...
whilst that's pretty cool, it's not really $7.99 worth of stuff. You're still getting the magazine at whatever that would usually retail at. Well, it would usually retail at $7.99, but you know, a magazine that thick would, if it were anything else, wouldn't retail at $7.99. For example, White Dwarf, which is much thicker, is about £5 or £6. Is about £5. I think it's $5.25 or something now. Comic books that thick are usually a couple of quid, so it's kind of hard to judge in this case. Sorry, got something in my eyes. There's nothing else with it, no maps or anything with it, so it's literally just that pot of paint. But that being said, let's see what's inside. As always, ubiquitous Ian, our spiritual leaf, signing the inside. And quite a nifty map of the Sol system. You've got the, and the Segmentum Solar, basically going on about the home sector and kind of by default the strongest and most well defended sector in the Imperium. Obviously the Sol system being the most well defended system in the Imperium, and Earth being the most well defended planet in the Imperium, and so on and so forth. It goes through a brief blip there. Yeah, the Sol system lies at the heart of the Segmentum Solar. It is the Imperium's most heavily defended star system, like I just said, for it is home to Terra, the birthplace of mankind, and the location of the Golden Throne. It's also home to Mars, the Red Planet, home of the machine-worshipping Adeptus Mechanicus. The system is protected by the mightiest of Imperial forces, including the Adeptus Custodes, the Imperial Fist Starship Phalanx, and the vast Battlefleet Solar. So yeah, it goes on to give you more about the Sol system. We've got a description of Terra, Luna, Mars, and Titan. You might wonder why Titan gets a mention. It's because it's the home of the Inquisition, or at least the Maleficarum, the demon hunters, part of the Inquisition. But of course, that's a secret nobody knows. Next, we're moving on to Chaos Rising, part 3. This one seems to be covering. Yep, it's another one of the timescales. This one seems to be covering Chaos in general. It mentions several things, but mostly it covers the rise of Chaos. We've got a bit here about the rise of Guilliman. An interesting bit, it says, a blind spot in Tzeentch's precognitive sight clears. But too late for the Chaos Powers to halt the revival of the loyalist Primarch Rabute Guilliman. That's quite cool, because a lot of the time with the Chaos Gods, where they're called gods and they're portrayed as very godlike, they're often portrayed as omnipotent or omnipresent or knowing everything or being everywhere or unkillable and things like that. The fact that Tzeentch, the guy that has plans within plans within plans, can't see everything that's going to happen, says a lot, and really sort of gives you an indicator that they're not, you know, the Chaos Powers, as despite the fact that they are immensely powerful, are not all powerful. They are still fallible, and that's quite cool, and that continues on through the timeline there, giving us more bits and pieces. Now, then it moves on to the Tyranids. the Tyranids are possibly one of the biggest, one of the coolest factions in 40k. They're certainly the most alien. Yeah, they're the least humanoid, they're the least human of the factions, which makes them, frankly, one of the better factions. There is a lot of crossover in terms of Tyranids and demons, where Tyranids are constantly coming up with new forms and demons are constantly coming up with new mutations. You do get multi-armed creatures with beetle-type things that are demons, and a lot of the Tyranids do fairly demonic, and they can grow tentacles and things like that. So there is a bit of sort of, there can be some bits of aesthetic crossover with the demons being exceptionally unhuman and inhuman, and the Tyranids, Maxie, shush now, and the Tyranids being exceptionally inhuman when it comes to being weird and to being very unique and, as I say, very not human looking. The Tyranids kind of have the edge. They've got the weirdest, the most alien creatures among them. They're certainly one of the more interesting factions, one of the factions that comes with the more interesting stuff. There is a certain level of humanoid-ishness about them, in that a lot of them stand on their hind legs and a lot of manipulate guns like that. They've usually got extra arms, which kind of breaks that down. But there are also a lot of them which are not humanoid at all. So yeah, if you want stuff that is really alien and is an ancient devouring creature from the depths between space and stuff like that, the Tyranids are very much your friends. Well, at least the models you want to go with. I don't think they're anybody's friends. They're really cool. The basic backstory behind them is that the Tyranids are a race that devours biomatter and uses that to fuel their race and to create, use the genetic stuff and the biomatter to create new species and new creatures. That they've completely eradicated their own galaxy, and they've had to travel the distance between galaxies to get to our galaxy, which takes forever. They're a hive mind, so they're one massive mind, which means they're pretty much immune to chaos because they're effectively their own chaos power. You know, there's millions of them, but where they're all one mind and one consciousness, they are effectively perhaps not as big as the chaos powers because there's only millions of them, whereas the chaos powers come from billions upon billions of minds across the galaxy. But certainly to the level of a minor chaos power, they muck up psychers, they make a mess, and they can't be influenced by other chaos powers because they're one creature. Although maybe that will change. Maybe we'll get some chaos gene stealers. It's got a lovely bit here. It goes, yeah, it's unlike all other races. They're the purest predators. To them, all things are merely prey. It then goes on. The Tyranids are not native to this galaxy. They've journeyed across the void between galaxies, moving through the darkness over countless millennia in search of fresh prey. The Tyranids spread across the galaxy like a disease. Yeah, it covers basically some good, a lot of the good bits and pieces about the Tyranid. They have no distinct mind, instead receiving instructions from the hive mind that binds the entire fleet. When the Tyranids attack, they do so in deadly swarms, caring little for the losses, and continue to press forward. Where it's a hive mind, they'll lose bits of them, but the mind itself will continue. So losing 100 Tyranids is like losing an arm. It would be unpleasant, but you know, they can grow another one, unlike people. So they're really quite cool like that. One of the statements that's been put in one of the Tyranid books is if they encounter a species, for example, that has something like the Imperial Guard, where they have millions upon millions of bullets, they'll breed millions upon millions of creatures and just hurl them at the guard until the bullets run out. They're very sort of adaptive and very direct, having loads of new things. It's got the new menace. More Tyranid threats continue to enter a war-torn galaxy. Hive fleets, Hydra, Scylla, Charybdis, and Kronos have thrust tendrils from out the galactic void. Strangely, the invasion of the Hydra system seems to have bypassed other more likely targets, instead seeking out splinters of previous Tyranid invasions in order to cannibalize them. Why this Hive fleet would be adding to its biomass in this way remains a mystery. There have been some some indicators that the hive fleets might be separate mines. You know, they're massive. They've got this massive sort of over mines, but the hive fleets might be different mines. But the general theory is that all Tyranids are controlled by a sort of massive overmind in general in some way, and that they'd somehow work together. But it's pretty cool. It goes through synapse creatures, which are the creatures through which the hive mind functions. More powerful Tyranid organisms, such as Tyranid warriors, are able to telepathically command lesser Tyranid creatures, giving them more complex orders. Basically, some of the creatures are intelligent enough to basically think, although what they basically do is, you know, their intelligence is part of the hive mind, but they control the more animalistic and the more basic creatures. So even down to, you know, almost microorganism level, the hive mind controls. You know, the hive mind controls. And if you can wipe out these ones, the animalistic parts of the hive mind become disconnected and they just go kind of rogue. It also goes on splinter fleets. Larger Tyranid forces often split into smaller splinter fleets, especially after defeat. These fleets continue to devour organic matter. Some have grown large enough to be classified as new distinct hive fleets. Basically, they've got to eat, and yeah, they do so in several manners. If they get defeated, they'll scatter and seek weaker enemies. But even if they don't, the fact they constantly have to feed and expand means they have to separate out, because they've been dormant in the space between galaxies, but now they're active and awake. They need food, and single planets would not necessarily be enough to sustain an entire hive fleet for long. So they've got to spread out and cover as much ground as possible, which could theoretically lead to them burning out, but it's more likely they burn out the galaxy first. Got a Tyranid showcase here. Some pretty cool artwork there. You can see that a lot of people prefer the sort of, well, GW prefer the sort of the darker chitin, and then an almost pallid fleshy pink to give them kind of an alien yet kind of fleshy look. I've seen all kinds of colours for Tyranids, and being as they are all different colours and all unique adaptations, and hive fleets and hive fleet splinters tend to go whichever way they want, you can really, you can see here, you can really go crazy. Those are the colour, GW seems to prefer those colours, but I've seen all kinds of massively insane colours there, and you really, because they're in, you can really just do what you want. Next, we're covering drop pods. Drop pods are one of my favourite bits of Space Marine kit, or being a Space Wolf player. Although the new rules for Space Wolves don't have much for drop pods. It was a little bit background. Space Wolves were the faction that used drop pods for the longest time, and then one of the GW's rules lawyers, who seems to be universally disliked for a lot of the fluff he wrote. I'm not going to mention the guy's name specifically because I kind of think he got enough of a kicking, but he decided he wanted to make cool Space Marines that could assault from drop pods, and he did, and he gave them to his favourite faction, the Ultramarines. And then when they rewrote the Space Wolves, they gave them back teleporting and pretended like they'd never lost it and things like that. It was really slightly annoying for a lot of Space Wolf players. We'd gone through years of not having teleport, then finally they say, okay, we're going to make some cool drop pod rules, give them to somebody else, and say, no, you can just have teleport back, which kind of annoyed a lot of Space Marine players. That being said, the person who did it kind of annoyed a lot of people with a lot of the way he gave things to he was very, very nice to certain factions and ignored others. Even in the fluff, some of the fluff he wrote, for example, again, not mentioning the guy, he wrote one of the Ultramarines codexes, and just literally sat there and went, yeah, the Ultramarines are best, or all the other guys are inferior, and they know it, and they all suck on the Ultramarines' cock, and they consider Robert Gilliman to be the spiritual age of all Space Marines, and and it was every Space Marine player basically just went, well, fuck that shit, I'm not even going to pretend that's real. The guy also mucked up a lot of math. But anyway, drop pods are a really cool way of delivering Marines into battle. For my money, better than teleportation, although a little bit more expensive. mostly because they drop the guys in the vehicle, which can offer you some protection. You can then open the vehicle and disembark, which is pretty cool. And the vehicle itself can be equipped with support weaponry, but also it allows you to put a huge chunk of your army, up to the entire army, depending on 50% of the entire army. It used to just be 50%. Now it's different, but it allows you to put the army anywhere across the board, and literally drop down troops and drop down units right in amongst your enemy. It's really quite cool. It goes through the stats there of how good it is. It basically sings the praises of them. Excellent way of deploying troops quickly over a large area. They usually carry infantry such as tactical units, devastator squads. Bulky units such as bikers, terminators and Primaris space marines are able to fit in the interior of a drop pod. Chaps have been known to use specifically designed drop pods that are able to carry dreadnoughts, although such equipment is rare and precious. Yeah, it's basically standard space marines, only in drop pods. I'm hoping they'll have something similar for Primaris at some point. They don't massively need it because a lot of the Primaris troops can drop directly from orbit because their armor's, because they've got anti-grav shoots on their armor. Or the very least they can drop from low orbit. So that's interesting. I'm hoping that something drop pod-esque gets done for Primaris. It is worth noting that you can get the standard drop pods from GW. The dreadnought drop pods they spoke about are a Forge World thing. They're quite expensive, but frankly, they're massive. You can fit an entire dreadnought on them, and they are pretty cool. I do not know if the Forge World ones can fit the Primaris dreadnoughts in them, because the Primaris dreadnoughts are obviously massive. You'd have to check the rules on that one. As I say, because you can't get Primaris Marines in drop pods, and I don't tend to buy from Forge World, I haven't actually looked up that rule set, but it's pretty cool. And you can see the drop pod there. You can see that you can see through it, but as it's completely open. But you can see the panels that have come out there. From above, it kind of looks like some sort of weird, deadly flower. It's pretty cool, but basically the Marines sit in it. It comes down, massive retro engines slow it down before it hits the ground, and then it just hits the ground with a massive great thud, and guys start pouring out of it. You can see up there is a missile launcher, but they also come with Stormbolter ones, with Stormbolter attachments. You can pick which one you want. The missile pod is more expensive, but frankly, you're probably only going to get to use it a little bit, because either your enemy will then swarm around you and crush what you've got there, or you're going to hit hard, hit fast and destroy your nearby enemy and then move on, at which point you might not get to use it. Obviously the missiles have a much longer range and are much harder hitting. I think a lot of people prefer the missiles, but really you got to sort of, again, as with everything Space Marine, you've got to think what you're using it for and what it's going to be doing, what its battlefield role will be, and that'll allow you to decide how you equip it. Moving on to the Chronicles of Blood. The Blood Angels must contend with the deadliest... Maximus! Quiet now. The Blood Angels must contend with the deadliest threat they've ever faced, the full might of a Tyranid invasion. Basically, the Tyranids invaded Baal, which was a mistake, but it's not the first time they've invaded the Space Marine world. Tyranids have invaded several Space Marine worlds. Usually, Space Marines equip themselves very well. Again, we've got another chronological out there detailing the story and what went on, and how the Blood Angels kicked the arse of the Tyranids. Not the first time Baal's been invaded. It also got invaded by Chaos Demons as well. So the Blood Angels are used to fighting even on their own turf, and they're insane, which is pretty cool. Next, we've got how to paint layered highlights. Got some more details here, covering some cool highlighting on the Plague Sword, some extra bits on the Plague Bug. It's giving you yet more you get more details to add into your thing. You notice that you've got a black there. It's not doing grey, it's doing blue. A lot of the time with black, you find that highlighting it with deep blues and then bright blues gives you a more sort of, gives you a more natural and realistic feeling black, frankly. It keeps the back of it looking black. It highlights in a way that doesn't feel weird and doesn't feel like it's turning the black into just a deep grey. Painting completely black or completely white, or even just very light and very dark colours is actually more difficult. The more the colours get to one end or the other of the spectrum, kind of the harder it is to make it work and make it look really good. But yeah, there's some really nice stuff here and some really nice details here. There you've got some of the details that you can add. Next, we're on to the mission, using custom mat setups. In most missions we've given you so far, we've shown you exactly how to set up your battle. These mats are designed to slot easily together. However, there's no reason why you can't set them up in a different way if you want. Oh, nice. They're basically going through some advice on how to randomly set them up, or how to set them up in ways that you want. Alternative setups, end on, or a T-junction setup, basically allowing you to play whatever you want. We've got a mission briefing here: destroy the batteries. Obviously, you don't have that piece of scenery, but you do have that piece of scenery. It's got a nice briefing there, and it is. Oh, and there's a nice piece of gun battery scenery. As I say, a lot of these are nice, and I would, if I were you, totally laminate them when you can. This is okay. It doesn't seem to actually show you which mat to use on this one. It's giving you a blank thing, not telling you which battlefield to use or whether you're using 3, which is interesting. 4 times, with each player representing 1 assault. This mission is designed to play through 4 times. Both players must choose units. I assume you're looking at the stats here. I'm assuming you're going to be using all 3, but maybe not. Blah, blah, blah. That's weird. Yeah, it gives some advice there on sizes of it. So this is the first time. Maybe they're going to let you randomly set up the 3 mats. Battlefield. Before the balloon roll died, winner selects one of the battle mats to play on. Set it on the blank side. All right. You select one. You pick one of the battle mats. Place all parallel objective markers on the location shown above. Can't place the anti-aircraft battery. For inside the back cover. At the centre of the battle mat, models cannot move through the anti-air. So it tells you underneath what ones you need to use. The forces we've got on this one are 5 Space Marine Scouts, 3 Inceptors, 5 Reapers, 3 Space Marines. And the Death Guard have 2 units of 10 Poxwalkers, a unit of 10 Cultists, 2 units of 3 Plague Marines, a Biologist Putrefier, a Noxious Blightbringer, and a Foul Blight Spawn. So it looks like they've got a bit of a... Oh, no, tell a lie. The way these work is you have to choose 1 for each mission for the Space Marines and 2 for the Death Guard. So the Death Guard do have numbers, but for the Space Marines you either have to choose 5 Scouts or 3 Inceptors or 5 Reavers or 3 Bikers. And for the Death Guard you have to choose from 2 from the list of 10 Poxwalkers, 10 Poxwalkers again, 10 Cultists, 3 Plague Marines, 3 Plague Marines again, a Biologist Putrefier, a Noxious Blightbringer, and a Foul Blight Spawn. So you could choose 20 Poxwalkers, or 10 Poxwalkers, 10 Cultists, or 10 Cultists, 3 Plague Marines, or 6 Plague Marines, or a Biologist Putrefier and Poxwalkers, whichever combination you wanted. So this one looks like it's going to be a nice small skirmish. A slight advantage in numbers to the Nurgle side. You choose which battle mat you want to use, put down the anti-air battery, decide between the two how you want to lay out the terrain, seeing the tutorials they just gave you. Death Guard player deploys its units first, which when they have advantage in numbers is usually what we've seen, them deploying their unit first, and then the Space Marine player gets to have first turn, so the Space Marine player gets to react and then shoot first, giving the Space Marine player a fairly solid counterpoint to the Death Guard's numbers. The victory conditions: if a Space Marine player's model base touches the power relay, it is destroyed. If a Space Marine player's model, the Space Marine player must destroy 2 power tower relays to win. Death Guard. Okay. Death Guard player must eliminate all the Space Marines or stop them from destroying 2 power relays in order to win. Slight twist: this one lasts 6 battle rounds, as opposed to the 5 that we're used to. Okay. Next issue, which is issue 65, we are getting 2 amazing characters. I'll be keeping the guy in the armour. Because I'm only playing Primaris, I will be giving away that guy next week. Which reminds me, stay tuned in a minute. I'll be doing the competition of winner for last week. Issue 65 will be covering Space Marine heroes, the Chaos God Khorne, who I think we're all interested in seeing what they do with him. Khorne tends to be considered one of the simpler Chaos Gods, basically Khorne Smash. GW have tried to make him more interesting by adding sort of loads of complexity by adding loads of characters and that, but the main god himself seems to still remain very much Khorne Smash. So hopefully we'll see some interesting stuff there, and it also is going to cover choosing armies for games, which be interesting to see what advice it gives there. Issue 66, we've got another Space Marine character. We've got a Plague Marine with an icon of despair. You know, the Plague Marine equivalent of the Space Marine Ancient. So it'll be interesting to see what rules that has. And issue 66 will be covering the Plague Marine icon bearer and its rules, obviously. Discover the Black Templars, which is another awesome Space Marine chapter. A successor of the Crimson Fists, and generally considered to be one of the largest chapters out there. I'll go into why next week. And Craftworld Elderai, and the Craftworld Elder, we covered the basic Elder, but the Craftworld Elder are pretty awesome. They get a lot of the coolest stuff there. They're very much the most sort of stereotypical Elder. When people think of Elder, Craftworld tends to be what they think of. They come with the Aspect Warriors, the Farseers and the Prism Guard and things like that. And whilst both Dark Elder and Eldar come under the Eldari thing, it's generally considered that the Eldar are the good guys and the Dark Elder are the bad guys. At least from their own perspective. I think even the Dark Elder quite happily admit they're the bad guys. But the Craftworld Elder, they've often fought against the Imperium, betrayed the Imperium, killed the Imperium, and did what they thought was necessary. But they're very much doing it for the survival of their own species. So they're very much the good guys from their point of view, which can be the description of a lot of the factions in 40k. Again, I'm just going to pause it for a moment, guys, while I roll to see who won last week's competition. Hey guys, so the winner of last week's competition for another sprue of Poxwalkers and Death Guard is James Martin. I'll PM you in the comments, or if you want to send me your address to my email address, send your address where you want this posted to my email address. It's wargamerdaduk@gmail.com. I'll post you in the comments with that email as well. Sorry, the comments to last week's video. And hopefully this should be winging its way towards you at some point in time. I should point out I haven't got a specific time to post things. I have to try and fit it in around things. And I'm very busy at the moment, particularly got 3 kids around for Christmas and recently changed jobs, moving things around the house, so on and so forth, blah, blah, blah. So if anybody out there wins a prize and it doesn't get to you for a while, bear with me. I will be sending it as soon as I actually am able, however long that takes. Okay, hope you guys enjoyed that, and I will see you guys next week. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that video, and if you did, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. I'm also on Facebook and Twitter. Not sure why, but I am. So if you like it, see me there, and please tell your friends. Thanks very much. Bye.